You know, everybody wants a life where they feel good, right? Have a good job, living their dream. To fall in love, have amazing sex and relationships, all that jazz. But what some people don't want is to struggle. And if I'm being honest, there are times where I don't want to either. But I've realized that the values we are willing to struggle for is important. It ultimately defines who we actually are.
I'd like to sell all my positions.
We all think about what we want to do with our lives, what makes us happy and what makes us feel good. I mean, come on, we've all been asked at least 50 times by adults what our plans are for the future. But here's a question that doesn't really get asked a lot, and what I think is one of the most important ones in our lives. And it's, how do you choose to struggle? When I ask people that question, they look at me like I'm some sort of fucking alien. I don't blame them. I mean, it's kind of a hard question, but ultimately, it's the hard questions that really matters. Pleasure is an easy one, and pretty much all of us have similar answers. Now, the more interesting one is the struggle. I choose to go through the early mornings, the sweat, the pain, and body aches because, well, I want a good body. I'm willing to gamble on myself, go through repeated failures of a starving artist's life, and work insane hours on something that possibly won't even work. Why? Because I want to make a movie. I choose to go through the process because I know I have a better chance than to sit my ass on the couch and wait for some fairy to sprinkle motivational pixie dust all over me. I know, that sounds a little bit weird, but stay with me.
I also do this because I want the benefits in life. And if I want the benefits in life, I also have to want the costs.
And there's so many shitty advice that I hear in this world. Like, oh, maybe you just don't want it enough. No, all right, here's the thing. We all want something, and maybe sometimes we don't know what it is that we want. But if you find yourself wanting something day after day, year after year, and nothing happens, then maybe what you actually want is a fantasy. Maybe you just enjoy being delusional. Or maybe you just never wanted it to begin with. Everybody wants to have an awesome job that gives them freedom and financial independence. But not everybody wants to go through the 60-hour work weeks, travel long commutes, and restart all the way to zero. People want to be rich without the risk, without the sacrifice, without the patience necessary to make money. But the thing is, it doesn't come that easy in this world. You have to struggle quite a bit for it. Recently, I made the decision of wanting to move to New York City in the next couple of years. And as you all know, it's one of the most expensive, actually, it's the most expensive city to live in the US. I've been running so much numbers in my head of all the expenses of how much I need to make in order to have a sustainable life living in New York City. And it's been quite tough trying to figure all of that out. But all I know is that I'm willing to work that extra hour, split that pack of ramen, and stay up a little later in the night just to achieve one of my dreams.
You see, I don't choose to struggle just for the sake of it, but because these are things that I think are worth struggling for.
For most of my childhood, and even today, I've fantasized about being a pro gamer.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Oh yeah, a pro League of Legends player in particular. Every time I queue up for a ranked game, I close my eyes and picture myself on stage, competing in the finals of the world's tournament against the best player in the world, Faker. You'd hear the crowd screaming, losing their fucking minds over my insane finger noodling play against the unkillable Demon King. This fantasy continued throughout high school, and even after 6 months of being sober from the game. But despite fantasizing for about a quarter of my life, the reality of it all never came. You see, I was in love with the result, and not the process. It's a marathon of a dream and a mile-long tread to the end. And what took me a long time to discover was that I didn't like to run much. I just liked to imagine hitting the finish line. Happiness requires struggle. If you want something, you're gonna have to work for it. There's a lot of pros when it comes to struggling, and it's actually one of life's greatest teachers. At least in mine, that is. You see, if you wanted money, I had to get a job. If I wanted to meet new people, I had to introduce myself. And if I wanted to learn a new skill, I had to do my research. The job market nowadays is pretty fucking brutal, especially if you want one that pays a livable wage. People don't interact as much as they used to, and instead would avoid conversations in any way they can. Social media is partially to blame for that, in my opinion. But I've managed to find a job, make friends, learn new skills, and look at myself in the mirror and see a smile. A genuine smile.
Now, this doesn't mean to purposely put yourself in harder conditions. Don't force yourself to struggle more than you already should. This is just coming from my experience on how I choose to struggle and what I would struggle for in my life.
The answer to this has actually gotten me somewhere, and it's helped me change my life and the way I see things in the world. Struggle is one of the most simple and basic part of our lives, and in the end, define who we are. So to whoever is watching this episode, I want to ask, how do you choose to struggle?